welcome. In this session, we want to dive into one of the most complex topics confronting our world today. The world feels disjointed and unable to cope with global demands, yet we seem to have the resources to sustain it. So what is responsible for such a mismatch between actual human needs and supply? Why are the majority of resources controlled by a few who seem more interested in retaining this system than changing it? We're also looking at the system itself. Is it stable and strong enough to sustain humanity, or will it succumb to its own weight? These are some of the things we plan to discuss in this video, highlighting why a shift, a civil revolution, is a critical path to human and environmental sustenance. So let's start this conversation by stating the obvious. Something, actually a lot of things, is not right in this world. You can feel it, can't you? It's not just about the poverty, war, violence, or any other chaos around your society. Nor is it about the rising cost of living, the increasing difficulty in affording basic things, or the increasing irresponsibility of people. It's in the quiet, the silence, the things that should be working but aren't, the people that should care but don't, the systems that promise safety but only deliver suffering. You don't need statistics to know it. But if you wanted them, in 2023, the world spent over $2 trillion on defense, a figure that analysts believe 1/3 of it would have been enough to tackle poverty globally. Today, it is estimated that 1% of the world population controls 50% of the global resources, and they are using it to lock billions out of basic shelter, education, or opportunity. That's not mismanagement, that's design. How did we arrive at this design? Was this forced on us, or did people opt for this design ahead of all the other options? The answer is uncomfortable. People actually opted for this. While it is not clear whether they considered other options, the reality is that they ended up with this, either by accepting what was handed over to them without proper scrutiny, or they tried to address a problem in the system only to be swallowed by it. What matters is that they gave us this dysfunctional world. A world so dysfunctional that everyone knows about the cracks. A world skewed to prioritize the comfort and satisfaction of a few over many. Do we need to continue this world with this system at the helm? What is the point of continuing a system that funnels resources to the hands of a few while encouraging and admonishing the existence of many? Why continue a system that considers genocide unacceptable yet supports oppression? Realistically, what can we do with a system that protects properties over lives? How far can a system that creates an illusion of order while denying the substance of fairness go? Have you ever wondered if this can change? To understand whether this can change, you need to understand who built this, who opted for this kind of system. Again, it is another uncomfortable answer. It wasn't designed by aliens, but by the same institutions and organizations that claim legitimacy today. The world you see today wasn't necessarily built by isolated individuals. Instead, it was built by individuals through the same entities that we know today. Governments, the same government of nations you see and hear about every day. They were built by prioritizing violence, aggression, and oppression over negotiations and collective agreement. Most nations we see today either pioneered or profited from the drawing of nations out of traditional communities through imperial guns and pens, ignoring culture, history, identity, and most importantly, harmony. The process produced the legal structures we see today. The same structures that subject climate priorities to corporate desires. The same legal structures that celebrate the accumulation of resources even when it powers inequality and grief. Take crude oil, for example. At the current global demand of 103 million barrels per day, the existing crude oil reserves stored above ground would last up to 41 years without drilling a drop more. Excluding currently unknown quantity under the ground, we were already guaranteed 4 decades of energy safely stored underground, pressure stable, and maintenance free. But instead of drawing just what was needed, the combination of legal and economic systems encouraged extracting more, only for billions to be spent on managing it above ground. This involves storage tanks that leak, pipelines that burst, tankers that run above the ground, and thousands of people that could have been doing something else. Yet when they fail, they don't just waste resources. They poison rivers, kill marine life, and destroy entire ecosystems. Literally, oil was taken from its natural vault and in the name of resource control, turned into a global hazard. That's not innovation. That's recklessness disguised as development. This is just one of the many illustrations of the world we have. A world that governments, through their legal codes, have really complicated many things. Seemingly simple things such as education, governance, society, and religion have all, in the name of developments and advancements, lost their basic meanings, purposes, and ability to guide humanity right. Take religion, for example. Scripturally, it is supposed to be a guide to how humanity should be arranged, emphasizing the importance of family and ethnic lineage in governance and economic advancements. However, in the quest to control many and funnel public resources to the hands of a few, it has been turned into something that has no specific meaning. Today, you see people trying to define what they think is religion, but when you interrogate them deeply, you realize those definitions have no grounding. In fact, every philosophical trait, including truth, governance, economy, health, technology, and education, that was supposed to serve human and environmental sustenance, have all been turned into tools for control. The output is a world where everyone agrees that things are not right, yet no one seems to be making the necessary changes. So back to the initial question. Can this change? If it can, how will it change? There are several voices on these, all calling for change, but most of them still recommend the same government to drive the change. One of the popular recommendations seeks for the government to tax the rich as a means of balancing the wealth inequality. As we had argued in one of our videos, such an idea, even if it is implemented, cannot address the main issue, which is that the productive trajectory is skewed away from the actual need of the society. The other issue with this is the same problem with the United Nations Social Development Goals, which set 17 goals to address global inequalities by 2030. They all require the governments that were specifically designed to skew this economic trajectory to turn and fix it. Does it make any sense to recommend that governments drive the change? Are these not just people making recommendations without understanding who created the problem in the first place? Do they understand that government laws, policies, contracts, and expenditure patterns generally favor a few people? Do they see that the problem isn't the structure of the government, but the ideologies they promote? For example, in one of our videos, we argued that the current capitalist system is linked to the entrenchment of the evil of the past, and it is the platform on which many of the existing government structures sit. If they do, they should have realized that there isn't any point waiting for the government to drive the kind of change our world needs. The truth is that governments, as we know them today, cannot drive this change. They were not created to solve this kind of problem, but to create it. Unfortunately, they're built to manage dissatisfaction, to keep the system breathing no matter who suffocates. It is unfortunate, but it is a reality we must recognize and act on. We must also understand that every institution that was ordained by the government, whether it is the so-called religious organizations or a corporate organization, can't drive this. Maybe they can play a part, but there is no evidence to suggest they can drive this. This is why we need a different kind of agency, the agency of collection of people. These aren't just people who want to get into positions, but people who realize they are already in those positions. It is a task for individuals who have the unique ability to see the bigger picture, people who can make the right connections, people who can understand the power of their natural office as influencers of the right trajectory, not seeking any external or artificial recognition, but realizing that they stand in a unique position to change the dynamics of human civilization for good and forever. It is a call for all of us to be part of a new page in human history. Maybe you think you're exempt. Maybe you believe that with hard work and luck you'll be fine, but look closer. Every plan you've ever had, career, education, family, relies on invisible forces playing along. Economic stability, social trust, legal protection, security. Without them, your dreams can collapse overnight, and they do, all the time. As mentioned earlier, that is the world we live in, a world where personal excellence is subject to volatility that the system encourages. Think about it. Without the kind of structural changes we're envisaging, assets will continue to be squeezed out of the middle and lower class to the very top 1%. Yes, it could be anyone in that 1%, but the chances of falling in the 99% are much higher for all of us. It means that you could be smart, but still lose all due to recklessness in the system. You could be moral, and that could become a vulnerability if the system rewards corruption. You could work day and night and still lose because someone else failed at theirs. The thing is, if you haven't thought about what the future of the current system could look like, you should do that. Do some permutations. You will realize that the system itself is too dysfunctional to remain in existence. There is a very high chance that the world we know today will undergo severe amendments and changes to serve humanity and the environment in the future. The current system of governance, where economic direction is dictated by the government of nations controlled by a few people, is just not sustainable. The only question we should answer is who and what will trigger the required changes. Would it come through violence and aggression? Can the same aggression and violence that brought us here drive us forward? Or do we sit and pray and wait for a miracle? Maybe an angel to descend and fix this world. Sincerely, none of that is enough, because what we need is not just a reaction, we need a reconstruction. And it should start by acknowledging the forgotten truth, that humanity can do better. All we need is just to leverage the tools we already have, that may have been ignored for long. For example, we need to learn how to maximize the unique diversity of views, opinions, strategies, and strengths to build a formidable society. A society that could acknowledge exception but sets a minimum bar for all. A system that could still leverage the current capitalist model but effect the necessary modifications. We need to build a system that taps into our numbers and diversity, a system that reconnects people with their roots, purpose, and voice. This is where the civil revolution comes in. It is not a movement, a protest, or even a mere platform, but an engine to drive new global systems. An engine to fuse diverse human inputs to build alternative systems that can both augment, complement, and redirect the governments, corporations, or any other institutions. An engine to get all to refocus and redirect to serving both the individual and collective needs. It is about creating and sustaining an engine that isn't looking to fit in, but about addressing the real problems. An engine to amplify civil engagement. To crowdsource solutions and fund ethical businesses and projects, to connect multiple initiatives into one big vision of global transformation, to educate, awaken, and train the next generation of builders. In summary, it is an engine that connects activism, governance, and economics into one powerful ecosystem. The goal is to infuse a different system into this world, to produce a world that takes input from the majority and outputs services and products that match the demands of all, not a few. This is about driving a revolution void of aggression, violence, or chaos. It is not about breaking laws, but driving the outgrowing of unhelpful laws and systems. The civil revolution is about introducing a new kind of clarity in every aspect of life that needs clarity, especially the kind of clarity that respects even the vilest systems while building ones that would sufficiently replace them. This is a unique opportunity for all to come together, not as citizens of failed states or followers of compromised order, but as builders of tomorrow. Civil revolution is where thinkers, builders, and visionaries converge, not to beg for change, but to engineer it. The system offers a secure platform for civil engagement and accountability, crowdfunding tools to fund ethical businesses and community reforms, movies, stories, and documentaries that can illuminate the depths of our shared challenges and prospects that lie ahead, education, books, and courses that open eyes and sharpen strategy, a digital ecosystem where activism, knowledge, and economic transformation intersect, platforms to expand philosophical, scientific, and theological positions that align with the primary goal of human and environmental sustenance. It opens a unique door to investors looking to invest in both the engine and the systems within it, but also take an important position in directing tomorrow's direction. It also opens a host of doors for academicians, ethical politicians, philosophers, entrepreneurs, faith leaders, and community leaders, to name a few. It is also an engine to drive your ethical projects or businesses aimed at reconnecting humanity. As part of that mission, we created NEAT, Nigerians Engineering Astounding Tomorrow. NEAT is a blueprint for how Nigeria and other African nations can contribute to global advancements, not by imitating broken models, but by designing better ones. Through NEAT, we're tackling economic stagnation, constitutional confusion, and civic disengagement. We're rebuilding trust, not by slogans, but by driving youthful engagements in several areas of economic advancement. NEAT is focused on ensuring that Nigeria learns to lead by making the most of its young population. We invite you to engage with us on how you can be part of any of these initiatives or any other projects within the Civil Revolution engine. We want you to join our efforts so that when history asks what we did when we realized that the global system we met was inadequate and unsustainable, together we should be able to say we built a new one. In the meantime, check out our other video analyses on the NEAT YouTube channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video.